this is Mark I'm with the band with another music tip. This time I am addressing a question that I have had posed to me and have had discussions around. It was something I addressed in the last video that I did, but I mentioned it very briefly, and I want to address it a little bit deeper. And the question really was, why can't you learn to play the blues by playing to backing tracks, or only playing to backing tracks? I want to clarify that and say that there may be a time and a place that it sort of is a way that you can practice with yourself, by yourself, and sort of have your own metronome and give yourself a little bit more of an interesting thing to work with. That's great, and it probably is really helpful for many, especially if you don't have the opportunity to actually play with other players directly. These days that may be hard to do. But there are several reasons why it's a mistake to only focus on using backing tracks as a way to learn to play the music. I want to address that here now very quickly. So the biggest reason is something that I addressed in the video that I did last time on 5 tips for really learning to play the blues. And that number one thing is that blues music is an art form. And it's an art form with a history and a catalog and all those sorts of things. Strictly focusing on a 12-bar blues that is varying kinds of grooves won't really take you into any of that. And as I said in the last video, the music is really in the songs. That's really where it is. You learn songs, and when you learn songs, you learn turnarounds, and I will address what that is in an upcoming video. You will learn about forms. So not all blues songs are 12 bars. And some are 8. Some have a mix. Some may be an 8 for the verses and a 12 under the solos with different kinds of turnarounds. And learning songs, you learn different grooves and you learn different approaches. This is really where the music is. So that's really what I focus on with my students. Do those things, and that will make a big difference. So the other reasons include this, that blues is really a collaborative art form. It really requires that if you are playing with others, that you are collaborating and creating something in the context of a song. So many solos are built off of the tune itself that is brought into the mix via the verses and the song. Not all blues songs are the same. And not all blues songs follow directly a minor pentatonic sort of a thing. There are lots of different sounds that can be included here, and so those things sometimes will be brought in via the theme, via a head. If you don't know what a head is, I'll address that also in an upcoming video. That's one of the things you need to know. It comes from jazz, and it is really a theme or the tune that is introduced. And those are the things that really make the difference. That's one of the bigger reasons. But the other part of this is that even if you are playing solo guitar and doing a blues song, the part of the history and the tradition of blues really comes from this concept of call and response. And call and response can come in a lot of different ways. If you're playing on your own, if I'm doing a solo song, a solo blues song, I'm thinking about it from that context. I am actually setting up the rhythm parts that I'm playing around this idea of call and response, and it certainly is a part of the solos that I'm doing. As I said before, part of that call and response may involve the tune that is being presented in either the head or the verses and the choruses. And that kind of a thing can't happen if all you're doing is playing over chord changes. You will get you will be missing huge parts of this genre, and it will make it difficult for you to move really effectively into playing well with others as a collaborator in that sense, as a band member. So that's the next reason. The other bigger thing is that just playing solos is just a small part of being a blues musician. In fact, I'm gonna state this. I did state this in the last video that I did, that actually becoming a good rhythm player will make you a much better and more effective soloist. And those two things have to work hand in hand. Just being a guy that plays a few dominant 7 chords does not make you a good rhythm player. There is an art form to that, and you need to learn how to do it. And so those kinds of things are things that you would be missing if you're only playing the backing tracks. The emphasis in doing backing tracks largely is to learn to have some kind of a platform to solo over, and the rhythm playing is a huge part of what goes on in this music, and learning how to do that is something that becomes foundational, and I can't emphasize that. It is the foundation of what needs to happen, and it partly comes out of learning songs. You will learn to be a good rhythm player by listening to the classic players and other players that are hot in this genre today, as well. But as I say before, you go back and you learn some of the things that the classic players did. I am going to do an entire video here, and I just did a blog post recently on the Myers brothers and the band the Aces that backed up all kinds of famous classic blues players. You will listen to those guys, you will learn how to be an effective player, how to play behind soloists, especially harmonica players, and it will set you up to be a better soloist in your own right. Trust me on that. So I can hear the questions already. So if I'm not supposed to play the backing tracks, I'll take your advice. I'll go out and get some records, or just find some way to listen to the classic players, all those sorts of things. But what do I do? If I can't practice to the backing tracks, what do I do? Well, here's a couple of solutions that I'm going to suggest. Obviously playing with others is difficult right now, and it's really tough to do over the internet if you try to do that. I know there is things like Jam Kazam and some other things like that are supposed to work for that, but it's tough, and it's another thing. So really what I recommend is actually doing this, is using a looper pedal. And I have this little, it's an under $100 little Ditto looper. I'm not recommending this as the only option, but this is a good way to do it. And what I would recommend, and this is what I recommend to my students, is if you're going to practice with a looper, this is what you really should do. You should actually take a song and run the song as a song form in its entirety all the way through. So that means to do a head if there's a head, to do the verses if there's verses that are separate from a chorus, because there are songs, especially some of the old Willie Dixon songs that had choruses. Run all of those, and then run whatever the solos are. If it's a 12-bar, maybe run it a couple times, do a couple 12s, so that you have an opportunity to learn how to do that and how to come across a turnaround and play over that. And then come back into the verses, chorus, whatever it is that is within that strong song structure. So that will teach you how to play over a song, and it will require that you're playing rhythm, and it will require that you're playing the solos. It can give you all those pieces, and since you're entering it yourself and you're doing it yourself, it's a better option for practice than backing tracks. The other thing that I really recommend is learn how to play over lots of different grooves. And the other criticism that I often have is that people are playing over a sort of a funky blues 12-bar, or maybe a shuffle groove or a swing groove, of some kind, but there are so many other different kinds. There are different kinds of shuffles. There's sort of a 2/4 feel that, sort of a country hop feel to some blues songs. There are Latin blues, so rumbas in particular, and to get some kinds of a means to help you to play over those grooves, because every single one of them is different. It's different to play over a standard 4/4 slow blues, even like a lumpy kind of a blues, dun 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 dun, what we typically think of as a slow blues. It's different than playing over a 6/8 blues, and that's a real common form. So practice with that. Obviously hard to do with a looper pedal, but here's the other little solution that is an option if you're looking at investing into learning to really actually investing in some gear. And that option is this. It's a Beat Buddy pedal. It's a real cool little deal. And it allows you a lot more flexibility than some of the other options that are out there for drone tracks and things like that. And the reason is that it actually triggers MIDI files, and the MIDI files are files that have actually been created by an actual physical drummer who has created those files. So it gives you a real live drummer feel. But that is an option, and it's a real cool option that gives you a lot of flexibility. Lastly, though, playing with others is really important. So once you have the opportunity to do that, the other best thing is to once you've learned songs, and even before you do that, maybe just to figure this whole thing out, is to go to blues jams. And I actually have a video, and I'll link all these videos in the description below, about tips and hints for going to blues jams, and a document that if you email me through the website, which you can easily do, that link will be down below as well. I can send you an entire document that's on that. How do you go to blues jams? How do you get the most out of them? All those sorts of things. And that is the key. Those are the things. And then the last thing is that having a mentor, having somebody who can guide you through this, that's how I learned. I learned because somebody helped me, took me by the hand and said, do this, don't do that, and actually took me into the genre that way. And I'm with a band. I know there's many other options. I'm not necessarily just pushing us, but that's what we do. We really help people, and we can do that over the internet and help you and guide you and coach you and show you the things, show you all those tips and tricks that you're not going to get by just listening to a backing track, or even going through a video series. The personal coaching is really one of the best options, and we can make that affordable and make it work for you. And that link to the website and all that stuff is down below as well. So, have a great week. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.